Imagine being 10 years old, standing in a crowd along the sacred way, when Rome's chief priest raises his hand and chooses you. In an instant, your name, your household, even your future are surrendered to a single vow. You are no longer a daughter of your family. You are a daughter of the flame. You are a Vestal Virgin, chosen not for ambition or wealth, but for the image of purity. A Virgo Vestalis was selected through a ceremony as solemn as it was final. The requirements were exacting. Between 6 and 10 years of age, both parents living, born of a lawful marriage, free of physical blemish, a Roman citizen without family disgrace. From this narrow circle, the pontifex Maximus chose, sometimes by lot, sometimes by his own decision. The moment he pointed, the child crossed a threshold no one could recross. There were families who wept. For them it was less an honor than a holy abduction, a sacrifice laid on the altar of Rome. Led away in quiet dignity, the girl left the Sacra Via not as a private person, but as sacred property of the state. Plutarch, in his Life of Numa, credits the second king of Rome with founding the order, appointing girls from distinguished households to guard the hearth of Vesta, goddess of the home and the city's life force. It was never only religion. Vestal service fused belief and policy. It was statecraft draped in white. Her new home was the Atrium Vestae, a sprawling residence pressed against the round Temple of Vesta in the forum's heart. There she would live for 30 years under a rhythm as strict as any legionary's. 10 years of learning, 10 years of duty, 10 years of teaching. The tasks were deceptively simple. Tend the eternal flame, prepare sacred offerings, uphold the rites that marked Rome's festivals and crises. Yet every gesture carried the weight of the Republic itself. If the fire burned, Rome endured. If the fire failed, Rome had erred. The Vestal's privileges were real and paradoxical. She rode in a curtained carriage. Her presence could halt an execution. The best seats awaited her at the games. The roads parted at her approach. She could make a will as a man could and owned property in her own right. But these liberties floated above a deeper captivity. The freedoms honored the symbol. The woman beneath the symbol lived in constraint. At the core of that constraint stood the vow of chastity. For the full 30 years, the Vestal's body was declared sacrosanct, untouched, untouchable, because it signified more than personal virtue. It echoed Rome's imagined moral order. Chastity safeguarded the fire safeguarded the city. To threaten one was to endanger the other. In this way, a young girl's body became a public trust, guarded by law and myth far more tightly than by walls. Daily life ran on quiet discipline. The Vestals moved through porticos and courtyards in white veils and braided fillets, eyes lowered, steps measured. Senior Vestals trained the novice in ritual formulas, sacred recipes, and the choreography of festivals. A priest could assist in the rites, but the Vestal enacted them. Her voice recited prayers, her hands tended the embers, her vigilance kept midnight watch. The atrium's doors opened onto the forum, yet her world was inward, a sanctified island inside Rome's loudest square. Honor, however, never guaranteed safety. The same city that revered the Vestals also policed them with a severity that could turn their robes into fetters. 3 obligations ruled their existence: keep the sacred flame, obey the house's discipline, remain perpetually chaste. If the fire went out, it was not merely a practical failure, it was an omen. Ancient authors describe the penalty. The pontifex Maximus scourged the responsible Vestal with rods in darkness, preserving ritual modesty even as pain was inflicted. No public stripping, no spectacle, but the blows were real, the lesson unforgettable. Discipline was designed to be felt, not seen. Even without punishment, the psychological pressure was constant. Suspicion could be enough to summon the College of Pontiffs. A Vestal's conversations with men were scrutinized, her appearances measured, her absence noted. Accusation tilted the floor under her feet. Roman law prized order over doubt, and in cases touching the gods, the presumption of innocence felt fragile. To be a Vestal was to live in a sanctified cage, honored in daylight processions, judged in midnight silence. When Rome believed a Vestal had broken her vow, its most chilling mercy appeared: justice without blood. The offense, incestum, the desecration of Vesta's purity, could not be met with sword or axe. A Vestal's blood was holy, it could not be shed. And so Rome devised a punishment that killed without spilling, burial alive. The ritual was as calm as it was merciless. Livy records a case from 216 BCE, the year of Cannae, when two Vestals, Opimia and Floronia, were condemned by the pontiffs. One took her own life. The other faced the state sentence. Veiled and barefoot, the condemned walked in a solemn procession through the forum, quiet as the funeral, led not to a pyre, but to a pit outside the Colline Gate, the Campus Sceleratus, the field of the wicked. There a narrow underground chamber waited, furnished with a bed, a lamp, and small rations of bread, water, and milk. Rome insisted it was not killing, it was confining, leaving life and judgment to the gods. She descended the steps. The entrance was sealed with earth and stone. No cries were meant to reach the square. No crowd was permitted its spectacle. She died when the air failed, beyond the city's hearing, beyond its mercy. Officially, the state kept its hands clean. Practically, it erased a woman with ritual neatness and legal poise, burying not only a body, but a name. Silence was part of the sentence. Why such severity? Because in Rome, the Vestals were more than clergy. They were symbols. Their bodies stood for the city's imagined virtue, their flame for its endurance. If that symbol cracked, Rome said the world trembled. In crisis years, plague, defeat, portents in the sky, the city looked to the hearth, to the Virgin, to the promise that the goddess's fire still burned. The weight of that expectation pressed on a child chosen by a pointing finger. And yet, the story is not only darkness. Many Vestals completed their 30 years and stepped into rare independence. Freed from the vow, they could marry, though some did not. Accustomed to authority and property, few Roman women enjoyed. They left the atrium with honor, their names inscribed in family memory and civic gratitude. Their long, unbroken care over the flame was part of Rome's own self-understanding, a civilization that imagined itself eternal must keep a hearth that never dies.